Welcome to another episode of Grant Thornton's podcast, where I speak with business leaders across different sectors of the economy, discussing some of the challenges that are facing business leaders and what organisations can do to set themselves up for success. My guest today is Anne Rogers-Bell, the CEO of PCS Thailand, a leading facility management company. Prior to joining PCS Thailand, Anne had been with Pascoe Group for 32 years, where she was most recently stationed in Bangkok as the Chief Operating Officer for Pascoe. She has extensive experience in HR and business transformation and is a big believer of the importance of company culture, and that's primarily what I'll be speaking to her about today. Anne, thanks for coming along.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Great. They say that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
They do.
Maybe a cliche, but why is company culture so important?
Well, I think they're right. I think culture does eat strategy for breakfast. A business is only ever really the best collection of all its people. And people are humans, and humans make very interesting, very collective decisions based on their own experiences in life. The reality is that the management team may not be at the front line when real life things happen. And therefore the culture they set needs to be so intuitively explainable and right that it helps an everyday colleague take the right action at the right time. And that will always outweigh what processes you're using, what systems you're using. The culture you set shows people what to do when you're not in the room.
Okay. So what can you tell us about PCS's culture and PCS's values?
So PCS has been around a long time. So it's served in Thailand for over 50 years, and that counts for a lot. So it clearly has a culture and set of values of working in the rhythm of Thai society, and that's a big tick. PCS has over 30,000 people. They are a bunch of everyday, very hard-working people, and its values represent the way they live their lives. So we think trust is important, we think care is important. PCS is a family business that grew from very humble beginnings where care and nurture was super important. We're also the market leader, and people expect us to know what we're doing, and therefore expertise is incredibly important, and therefore being expert in what we do is also one of our values. And then finally, respect. Respect for each other, respect for our customers, and respect for our shareholder. And those things really hold us together. So they're not a list of rules, they're a life code. And they're very similar to an everyday life code that people lead. And that's what makes it work, and that's what makes it integral to the PCS business.
Okay. 30,000 people. How do you get them all to buy into that culture?
Yeah.
That must be challenging.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. And the reality is your brand is only ever as good as your least engaged person. So it's a constant challenge, actually. But you know, humans believe in fairness and equity. If you treat people right, they will do the right thing for you. So it is to operate with a sense of those values. Those values are equally important in the care we give Thai society, the donations we make to foundations, our commitments to things like social mobility. So we're authentic. And therefore people will buy into that. So we're not a company that's going to come and go quickly. We're here, and we're here for life. We started from humble beginnings, and therefore the way we've grown up reflects the way our colleagues are. So for me, the biggest thing is that we're authentic. So we do what we say, and we say what we do.
Fantastic. So what do you do if you get an individual or a group of individuals that you just can't get to buy into that culture, that just don't subscribe to the values of the organisation?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite visceral. So actually, there is a chance that individuals might not buy in, and therefore they might not be people that want to work with us long term. For most people, Explaining the why as well as the what clears the mist. So it's quite easy from the top of the organisation to think that you understand why we do things and what it feels like to be at all levels. But actually, if you're part of the organisation, sometimes you know what to do, but you don't really connect with why. So actually, face-to-face management time, clear communications, open dialogue clears a lot of that away. Sometimes our colleagues have very good points. So sometimes we're doing something that actually they don't think is in tune with our values, and therefore we have to change. So it is all a two-way dialogue. The short answer to your question is just communication. So actually 30,000 people is a force to be reckoned with. Wow, yeah. But the effort is in the communication. So people understanding what we do, why we expect what we expect, and people understanding that there is an ability to have an open dialogue with us. We have to be incredibly diligent around the basics. So people have to trust us, and that can be incredibly basic. So making sure people are treated with respect, making sure everyday things like pay or transport or accommodation or food is taken care of builds trust. And from that foundation, you can get a mutual understanding. If you fail on those very basics, then quite rightly, you are in trouble in terms of engaging your colleagues.
Wow. You mentioned an interesting word there, was change. And change in any organisation is always, can always be challenging. And I guess PCS, more than perhaps any organisation, must be making a lot greater use of AI and some of the newer technologies available to your organisation. How do you bring about change within an organisation and get the buy-in from, I guess, the bottom, if they need to change, or indeed you even talked earlier on where you perhaps need to get the change and come from the top down?
Yeah, exactly. The front line, I find, are probably the most willing to change and the most engaged. As you move up to the top of the organisation, quite often they are also engaged, but there is this big backbone of the business, of the people that are charged on an everyday business with keeping the wheels on the bus. They take the burden of the P&L. For them, change can be quite intimidating, and there's a lot to lose. So again, communicating your vision, making what you do understandable and intuitively correct, and understanding the capability of the middle part of your organisation is probably the most important. We benefit from incredibly long and loyal service, and it's a great strength of PCS. What it does do, it means we also have a burden and a responsibility to keep those people attuned with the market. So what's changed? What's going on in smaller organisations? Where's the innovation? What are the newest of management techniques? What's the newest of technology? And sometimes that population is so busy doing that we don't take the time to teach them, to share with them and help them cope with change. And they will make or break. So it's great that you've got a vision at the top. It's great that you've got enthusiasm at the bottom, but this bit in the middle that is holding your business together, that they are the guys that change for you. And that takes effort, organisation and coordination.
Interesting. I found in a lot of organisations, when you try and bring about change, you almost get this resistance, immunity to change. I think there's books written about it. And doesn't matter what the senior level want to do, the lower ranks will actually make it fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost to prove they're right.
Yeah.
How do you get them though to say, this is a good idea? Because people don't like change. People like to keep doing what they were doing.
Yeah. I think like you would with customers, you'd start with pain points. So clearly you're going to have a view of where you're going. But actually much of the organisation is made up of tradition and the way things were. And people forget to be cross about that. They've just accepted that. You can actually get a lot of buy-in by walking the organisation through. Why do we do that? Isn't that painful to do? Why is that so manual? Isn't that a bit complex? Isn't that a waste of your skill when actually you could spend better time talking to our customers? So actually trying to get the organisation to tell you the change it wants is definitely a technique. I think playing to competitive spirit is also, so actually pointing out, look guys, our competitors are on our heels here. We want to stay ahead. We want to do the right job for customers. We want you to be part of the leading facility service management company. What do? Getting them to buy into a sense of competition rather than perhaps competing with each other internally is also a good tactic. And then also just talking about that it's painful. Telling stories about, look, actually, yeah, at a human level, no one really likes it. It makes us all a bit uncomfortable. Let's just talk about it. Talk about, tell me what you feel. Tell me why you think the answer should be no, not yes. And just allowing that to be a conversation that the organisation can have. And then there is a moment, actually, when we've debated enough, and then you do need discipline and execution. Because once you're going, you're going.
So getting their buy-in, getting them to feel that they had a part, or even perhaps even it was their idea.
Exactly, yeah.
Competition. Communication.
Yeah.
And I guess then enforcement.
Yeah.
Communication. How do you communicate with 30,000 people? I've got 250 odd people and I find it hard to get communication to all those. How do you get to 30,000 people? How do you communicate with them?
You got to communicate in exactly the way they live, rather than the way you think a corporate should communicate. So many of our people live on social media. That's how they live on a day-to-day basis. If you want their attention, then that's how you contact them. If they prefer hearing change messages via TikTok, then that's how you talk to them. If they want to communicate in stickers via line, that's how you talk to them. So you have to live in your world. There can't be a difference between the way a business communicates and the way its people live its lives. You've got to get into that rhythm. You've got to get them at the moments that matter to them. So frankly speaking, the moment you get someone to look at their wage slip is a single moment of attention in a month, and you can communicate perhaps one message clearly at that time. There are rituals and routines that are super important to Thailand. One of them, as we all know, is food. So actually get them together, give them some food. That's a good way to get a message across. Thai people love a spirit of fun, a spirit of sort of collective moments. So I guess what I'm saying, long and short, is you communicate in the way they want rather than in the way you were taught in management books.
Okay. Coming back to culture through COVID.
Yeah.
All of us started getting used to working from home. Obviously, with facilities management, there's probably some challenges with some of those people working from home. Probably harder to maintain a building from home. But anyway, how did you, and hopefully we're coming to the end, or somewhat the end, how did you manage to maintain the culture of PCS during some sort of pretty major sort of upheaval within an organisation?
Yeah, look, it was a really tough time for us actually. In the end, we boiled it down to three things. We told everyone in the organisation the same message. We told that same message to our customers. We'd be happy to share that same message with our competitors. And there are three very clear messages. The first thing you do is protect lives. The second thing you do is protect our customers' businesses. And the third thing you do is keep connected to us so we can be the first to recover. We led very quickly with an agenda that was on protecting people. And that tells you everything you need to know about our culture. So we were hugely demanding about who got vaccinated, when they got vaccinated, scooping up every last person in our organisation to be vaccinated. We were super diligent on PPE. We accommodated people through quarantine. When people didn't have work, we made sure they had food. So they're very small things, and they're not rule-based, but they tell you everything about our culture. And instilling that in our people by demonstrating that to our people tells them how they treat our customers.
Fantastic. And I guess you've now got a pretty loyal workforce working with you.
Yeah, we've got a great workforce, and COVID, we're right in the heart of the storm. So we've got big food customers who are serving the nation with food. We've got an enormous business in healthcare and education, super critical, and not the safest places to be in a pandemic. But they hang in there. They do a great job. And we've come through with a strong workforce in place. We've actually had better retention through COVID than we had before. Yeah.
Avoiding the great resignation that a lot of businesses are facing.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So what does the future look like for PCS Thailand going forward?
Yeah. Well, look, I think, so we talk a lot about technology, right? So you and I will talk about technology tomorrow, in fact.
Yeah.
And technology will become increasingly important, but it will never replace the role of people. So we're a people business, and we always will be a people business. We see our role going forward as blending people with technology, as reskilling people to help meet their own needs and aspirations, and to find out the bits of technology that our customers will most value. So as they move from resilience to recovery, our customers are telling us they would like to see some technology. They would like to see actually cleaning staff and security staff more present, more visible as a part of their brand. And they're telling us they're keen to grow, and we're keen to grow with them. So we will be who we've always been, but with a modern and relevant twist.
Some really, really great learnings there, Anne. I think we could all take sort of a leaf out of your book and really learn something there. So, Anne, thank you for your time today. It was fantastic.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And for the viewers out there, for all your facility management needs, PCS. And from what you've heard today, a fantastic organisation with a strong culture and a fantastic workforce. And remember, for your business consulting needs, Grant Thornton, we're here to help.